extend my greetings to everyone.
Mr. Speaker.
Barbara Couriger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure to be taking a call and speaking on this second reading of the Radiation Safety Bill. I can remember when I stood up to speak on the first reading, I came into work that day and my EA said to me, "You've got 10 minutes to speak on the Radiation Safety Bill," and I was there thinking, oh my goodness, how on earth I know nothing about radiation. And as others have said, it is a very complex issue, and I do remember going to Wikipedia and ending up more confused than I was when I started. But I do want to endorse the advice, and others have spoken of it, that we did have at our select committee, explaining the differences between the types of radiation and giving us very clear charts and graphs about how it works. And it is this about modernising an outdated piece of legislation, and I am one of the people on the Health Select Committee who can remember 1965, so I will make that admission. And when you go back to 1965, it was actually when The Sound of Music was released, and I can remember trotting down from my school to the picture theatre. And when we think about technology now and the things that we're streaming in terms of movies, and go back to 1965 and think about the way we did things, it just, we just know that the radiation protection that we had back in those days is not going to cover what we've got today. So there's about 4,300 licensed users of radiation sources in New Zealand, and while the majority of these are in the medical industry, we've actually got also veterinary medicine, we've got research and a number of others who are also using it. And as other speakers have alluded to, it's about the benefits outweighing the risks going forward, and making sure that the level of exposure, not only to those who are being treated, but for family members and all those people around them, is absolutely limited to the minimum needed. So it's also stating in this piece of legislation that no one's allowed to use a radiation source other than for its intended purpose. And you have to have an authorisation before you can manufacture, possess or control a radiation source. You have to have authorisation to use a radiation source, or to import, or to export, or to perform a radiation ancillary service. And so it's really tightening up those rules, and it's tightening up the technology as we know it today. And we all know that radiation services are really important for our medicinal purposes, and it's about delivering better cancer services as one main use that we use it for. It's a top priority service, and we've come a long way in terms of the treatment that people are, if it's caught early and it's treated early, by safe, solid services with radiation. And so it's a pleasure to support this bill today. It's been a pleasure again to work with the Health Select Committee. We've had some great discussions, we've learnt a lot, and while I'm now not an expert on radiation, I have a much wider and broader understanding of it than I did when we began. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Kevin.